all the essentials that you need, that I needed to succeed in the area that I'm in now, I learned at home and at church. And a lot of people despise the small beginnings, but those are the training ground to actually get you to where you want to go, and to be faithful with the small, with the big things. So I learned there. He saw the faithfulness there, and he's like, "Yo, we're going to virtual in a pandemic." Miss America 2011. She was hosting the International Maxwell conferences, and he's like, "We're going virtual for the first time ever. This is unprecedented. The world's upside down.
Yeah,
they're going to have a conference anyway." So he invited me in. I didn't know what to expect.
Wow.
They're building the studio in like Jupiter, Stewart, like West Palm Beach area, Florida, and they're finishing it literally as we're there. They're finishing the studio to build, and it was wild because I'm walking into this thing knowing the magnitude of John Maxwell and the team, and I'm like, "Yo, snap!" So I come in, and thankfully I was prepared from all the things that I've done before to walk into it, and it went great.
Turn this up, turn this up.
Your professional development is one of the keys to your career success. When you combine your desire to grow with actionable steps, your journey to success becomes an incredible reality. Welcome to the IncrediPaul podcast. And now, sharing his expertise, experience, and excellence with the world, here's your host, Paul Ferrandi.
I'm Paul Ferrandi, and welcome to the IncrediPaul podcast, where we learn how to become the best versions of ourselves by learning from each other. Today, I'm super excited to have the honor of having a man of many talents. Entertainer, MC, and radio host are just a few, but I have Neal Hopson, aka NEALLYTIME. I kind of introduced you, but how about you introduce yourself the way you would do it? And let's just get into it.
Paul, thank you for having me. I always start with what's popping. My name's Neal Hopson, NEALLYTIME. And I first of all, thank you for allowing me to be on the pod today. I think it's super dope what you're doing. I've watched your many episodes, and to see the growth and development to where you started to where you are now is awesome. And to see the IncrediPaul brand develop, you got the merch, got the hat, the shirt, everything. I'm loving it.
Thanks.
I'm loving it. And it's really cool to see you step out on faith and walk into your next season as well. But I'm really pumped to be here. Like you said, I'm a husband, father to a 4-year-old. I am, a faithful believer in Jesus. I love people, and I try to figure out different ways to serve people, whether it's through radio, or it's dance or DJing or live emceeing or hosting or speaking or whatever it is. I try to use these different gifts to make sure people are served well, and that God is pleased. So not perfect in it by any means, on a journey for sure, but through the skills and the things that I've learned at home and at church and in the business world, it's really afforded me a lot of cool opportunities. And I'm thankful to really just even be in this position today and really pushing on to the next season. So I'm thankful, big time.
Awesome. Yeah. That's incredible. So I know you talked about some of those different gifts. Is there anyone that you feel like was one of the first gifts that you had or really saw, and that you tried to develop more than others, and then kind of led to others, or were they all kind of all around the same time?
That's interesting, because I wasn't the most talented kid. I developed different things. My main passion was tennis. So I was I'm still a big tennis player, like big tennis player.
Yeah.
Growing up at age 6, all the way through national juniors and college, and a little bit of like short stint at pro tennis on the lower level. But that's my first passion. Hey man, I dibble and dabble, you know what I'm saying? But it was fun. It was cool. That was my first passion. And honestly, when I felt like that I was kind of being called to leave that season and move into the next season, I didn't want to. That was really, really tough for me, because you kind of find your identity in what you do, especially in the early stages.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the healthiest, but that's all you do for so long, and you're good at it. And then you get praise for it and affirmed and all the things. And then you have to make the decision and say, okay, well, God, what do you have for me in this next season? So God was like trying to develop DJing and dancing and stuff like that, because I didn't have a lot of, rhythm growing up, honestly. And I was the youngest. Do you have rhythm, Paul? I saw you on the dance floor.
Say, I don't believe that you didn't have rhythm, just because like I don't know about that.
Paul, you're from the motherland. You got it in your blood. We all, I saw your family at the wedding. You definitely
just a little bit.
Nah, man. It's one of those things where some skills are just, you're kind of born with to a degree. Some things you definitely have to develop. And no matter if you're born with it or not, you still got to take your gift and your talent and develop it.
Yeah.
And sometimes we ride off of pure gifting. We're like, okay, I don't have to practice. I don't have to put in the work because I'm good at this. I'm natural. Yeah. And it frustrates me when people say, oh, you're such a natural. I'm like, I am not at all. I work really hard to look this awkward. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where I didn't really start out with like a whole lot of gifts, but I mimicked what I saw. So if it was dancing, I know my generation, it was like, Michael Jackson, MC Hammer, getting into Usher, who else? NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, the boy band era. And I started doing those dances in high school, because the girls liked them. Yeah. And then that's pretty much the whole incentive and motivation. And then from there, I started to see different opportunities kind of come out of that. And then started DJing when I was in college. So I just kind of taught myself pretty much how to do everything other than tennis. So I was thankful for those opportunities, and then really invested into myself, which was the main thing, so I can kind of step into some really bigger opportunities. So
that's really cool. That's awesome.
Did you ever play a sport? You played football, right?
A little bit, but mainly was baseball in high school.
Baseball.
Yeah, baseball is my sport.
Dang, I didn't know that.
yeah, baseball's my main sport. I like tennis. I play like base level, like barely able to serve.
Have you gotten to pickleball yet?
I have played pickleball before. Not recently, but I think it's getting a lot bigger.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's the thing, man. A big bro mentor of mine, Chris Robinson, he introduced me to pickleball, and I actually got a pickleball paddle over here. It's wild though. Like, cause pickleball is coming from tennis. I was like, man, pickleball it's slow, and maybe it's for older folks. And I'm like, I don't know, because he brought me to this pickleball gym, and I walk in, and there was like, the median age was like 63. I'm like, bro,
whoa,
I'm about to smoke these cats. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I play high level tennis. So I get in there, and these guys, they're not very mobile, these older guys, but they're very crafty. And they were cleaning up on the court, and I finally got the hang of it. You learn the rules and whatnot. Yeah. But pickleball is definitely the fastest growing sport right now, I think, in America. So we have to test it out a little bit more. Yeah.
That's to get out there and do that. So that's really cool. So I know you kind of mentioned Chris there. So how important has mentorship and having like a big brother, how has that affected you and in your life and your growth?
Tremendously. I mean, I can't tell you how many times an influential person like Chris has made a difference in my life and in my journey. I mean, I've known Chris. He's with the Maxwell Leadership Group, executive vice president. But he didn't start there. He started out, serving at church. He started out, just being a friend. And he has been instrumental in my life and my career. I mean, he was in my wedding. He taught me how to play pickleball. He taught me how to play golf. I mean, he introduced me to all the firsts. And he has been with me through the ups and the downs. And I've been with him through the ups and downs as well, to see the rise and some of the low points in life, and now to see where he is now, it's pretty amazing. But just the guidance that he's given me. The reason I really even wanted to be married was because of Chris. I went over his house and I saw him and his wife, and I'm like, man, I want what you have, and it was just really cool to have somebody set an example for you, and not just to see the shiny sides, but to see the sides of struggle. It really encouraged me because, man, I'm telling you, the faith walk and the faith journey is definitely real, especially when you add kids on top of that. You know, when you add an entrepreneur on top of that, I'm just going to make it work. I'm not going to go back to where I was and get a job, which I could. He can make, 6 figures doing anything.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm going to stick true to what it is. And to see that, I was like, yo, this is next level stuff. So Chris has been influential in my life in the early stages. And then he saw me develop as well in my own space, I guess. And invited me to be part of what he's doing with Maxwell Leadership. So I get to MC the International Maxwell conferences, the Let's Lead events, and to really just be in the room.
Yes.
It's cool doing the thing, and I'm thankful for doing the thing, but to be in the room with him, with John, with Mark, and the thought leaders from around the world that really influence the world.
Yes.
It's incredible. I mean, we're at these conferences, and to hear the information and have the opportunity to take it and apply it, it's incredible.
Yes.
No, wow. John Maxwell team. How long have you been part of the John Maxwell team?
So I joined September of 2020. So it's been a couple of years, but got certified in March of 21.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. So we joined kind of like the same time. I joined August 2020. So
oh wow, okay.
Well, probably August, September. So we were in the same class.
Right there.
That's dope.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So I'll say right now, so Neal and I go to the same church, and I didn't realize that you were doing all this stuff with the Maxwell leadership. And it was just awesome because I remember in March, it was still virtual because we're March of 21, we're still coming out of COVID. And I see him on the stage. I was like, wait, I know that dude. Is like that's amazing. Like this dude's doing awesome things, like on literally a world stage, and tens of thousands of people. It's amazing. Can you kind of talk through that experience? I think the March one, I think that was the second experience. Maybe even talk through the first experience, how that went, how that all came to be.
So kind of how it came to be was Chris invited me out to MC. This was actually before I even knew that, before I even joined. He saw what I was doing, like in the other arenas of like emceeing with Joyce Meyer conferences. So I've been in that arena with DJing and emceeing, and awesome. He saw the development there, and he saw development at church as well. Because it all starts by serving at home, serving at church, and being faithful with the little that you have. And I learned how to read a teleprompter at church, right? I learned how to do video work. I learned how to do stage work. Yeah. All the essentials that you need, that I needed to succeed in the area that I'm in now, I learned at home and at church. And a lot of people despise the small beginnings, but those are the training ground to actually get you to where you want to go, and to be faithful with the small, with the big thing. So I learned there. He saw the faithfulness there, and he's like, "Yo, we're going to virtual in a pandemic." Miss America 2011, she was hosting the International Maxwell conferences, and he's like, "We're going virtual for the first time ever. This is unprecedented. The world is upside down.
Yeah,
they're going to have a conference anyway." So he invited me in. I didn't know what to expect. Wow. They're building the studio in like Jupiter, Stewart, like West Palm Beach area, Florida, and they're finishing it literally as we're there. They're finishing the studio to build, and it was wild because I'm walking into this thing knowing the magnitude of John Maxwell and the team, and I'm like, "Oh, snap!" So I come in, and thankfully I was prepared from all the things that I've done before to walk into it, and it went great. I joined the Maxwell team that year in August, September, and in International Maxwell Conference is, like you said, it's huge. It's tens of thousands of people from around the world. There's thousands of people in person. There's thousands of people virtually, and literally people are flying from around the world. We meet people from Zambia and from Nigeria, and from Poland and from France, and literally everywhere you could imagine. Getting in the room to get certified, to use the resources that John Maxwell's had, and I'm like, yo, this is crazy. And then knowing the correlation between the seeds that our pastor has sown to even to meet with John Maxwell way back in the day, to expose us to his teachings and his trainings and his VHS tapes back in the day.
Yeah.
And now to be able to walk with him, to sit with him and talk with him and be on stage with, it's incredible.
Yes.
And wow. I'm just thankful, bro. It's just incredible.
Yeah, no, it's remarkable.
Yeah. How's your experience there? Like when you've gone, what did you feel? Like what did you think?
I was blown away. Like honestly, I already had high expectations from like the first John Maxwell book. Well, first off, I got into John Maxwell team and Maxwell leadership because my dad's actually also a John Maxwell team member, but he's been a member for a while. Probably, I think he probably joined like, I don't even remember what year it was, or probably a few years after the John Maxwell team started in 2011. So he's been on that journey for a while, having me reading John Maxwell books. And so I'd always been a fan of John Maxwell. I read his books. I never really thought about taking that next step until like really the stuff with IncrediPaul and what John Maxwell always talks about, like in his books, as personal growth, you need a plan for growth. And I realized, okay, if I'm going to maybe jumping into this entrepreneurship journey, doing stuff with leadership, I need to have some structured way to grow and develop. And I thought of like John Maxwell team at that time, that's the best way to do it. And like just the way that the platform is set up, it's self-paced, being able to go through like the speaking side as well as the coaching side. Because at first I only really knew about the speaking side. I want to get better as far as like just understanding how to develop a speech, put together contact, and just get my point across better. And so I did that first, and I also went through the coaching side as well. And so it's just been phenomenal, even just connecting with people. I've only been through it virtual just because of the nature of COVID. But I know we've met at Live to Lead conferences, which is also by John Maxwell. Got to meet other people there, or just people at church, or just other events where you start talking about it. And you're like, oh, I'm a Maxwell leadership member too, certified member, or I love John Maxwell's stuff. It's just remarkable just the impact that he's made and how you just make a connection immediately.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, to meet people from around the world and to build a community, build a relationship. And I think one thing we say at church is the most important thing in life aren't things, but the relationships, right?
Yes.
And to have those relationships, to foster them, to utilize them, that's the key. Because sometimes we have great relationships, but if we don't ever nurture them and pour into them, and then eventually maybe get poured into from them, like what are we doing? Sometimes you're one relationship away from a great opportunity, just like I was with Chris.
That part.
I didn't go into the relationship wanting to get something. Like we were just hanging out, growing, living together. And then as we both grew in life, our paths met again. And I think that's huge. I mean, I remember, funny story, like how you helped me out when we were in Atlanta at Live to Lead, like, was it last year?
Yeah.
Man. So we were like trying to head back from the airport. I think did I give you a ride? I was like, hey, come with us.
Yeah.
That was the first mistake. So Paul's a well-traveled man. Okay. This is what you do. And I was like, we were down there with my nephew, and I think he lives in Atlanta. And we were like trying to head to the airport real quick. And I was like, okay, we got a little bit of time, but I really want to experience Atlanta, right?
Yes.
Didn't get a chance to. I wanted to feel like it was Atlanta. So we went to this restaurant. It was called Virgil Gula's or something like that.
Yes.
And it was amazing, by the way.
Yes, so good.
Quintessentially Atlanta. We walked down there. We see everybody. It was like Saturday afternoon. The food was flowing. The music was flowing. Oh,
yes.
The brunch vibe. So it was a great restaurant. DJ was spinning. And then we sat down to eat. We knew time was tight, right? We knew we were like, I don't know if we're going to make it, but this food looks so good. And we waited this long.
Yes.
We might as well go for it. We're in College Park, Georgia, right near the airport. And we get our food. It's packed out there. We're just boom, putting it down. Collard greens, chicken, mac and cheese, everything. And then we need to catch an Uber. No. My nephew needed to catch an Uber. We jumped in the rental car, had to return it. And and if you know anything about Atlanta's airport, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Paul, you know Atlanta airport very well.
Yes.
I clearly don't.
Busiest airport in the world.
Yes. And I'm trying to cut it short for some chicken. So we are running through the airport, trying to return the rental car first. And if it wasn't for Paul, we would have not made it, because you need a tram to go here, to go there. Yeah. And Paul's is leading the way. We're running to the airport, and we finally make it to the gate. But it was the grace of God. It was no way we could have made it. Crazy.
Yeah, we got through. Yeah, it was just like God's great. Yeah, it was crazy. But I was like. But I knew we were gonna make it. I was like, I think I was telling you, I was like, we're gonna make it. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna do it.
I think this is actually before I had like TS pre-check and clear and all of that. Yeah. Like, so I'm with the common folk over here, and it was crazy because the last time I went to Atlanta's airport a couple weeks ago, it was bananas. Like I'm talking about. Yeah. You couldn't even get up to the airport, 30-minute gridlock.
Yeah.
I had clear and pre-check, took me 45 minutes to get through the line.
Yeah.
Everybody else in pre-check took them an hour and a half. Everybody else, who knows if they even made it to the destination. And everybody's moving slow. Don't nobody care in Atlanta.
Yeah. I got places to be.
But no, we had some good experiences there. We bonded.
Yes, definitely. That food, I still have dreams about that food. It's like it is good. It is so good.
Love it.
But yeah. Talking about travel, has there any been either memorable or cool places you've got to travel through, either for work or speaking or just in general? Man,
I go to Florida a lot. I'm on the East Coast quite a bit, so Florida 3 times a year.
Oh, nice.
So I'm in the Orlando area a lot. We used to go to Fort Lauderdale. I like that. Go to Atlanta more now. Shout out to all the Atlantans, but Atlanta is growing on me. Okay.
Yeah.
Atlanta be Atlanta sometimes, So I be trying to say, let me go to Buckhead. Let me go over here. But Atlanta's cool. I've been on the West Coast a little bit when I used to travel for tennis. So I like San Diego. The weather's the best.
San Diego's nice. Yeah.
Right. And so I want to get on the West Coast a lot more, but it's the hot spot that I enjoy. I like it. It's you get the big city vibe, but it's not too crazy. It's Chicago.
That's true.
That's bread and butter. Not in the winter. Winter is crazy. No. But I like the food scene. I like the city feel. I like the opportunity there. It's a buzzing city where lots going on, entrepreneurial vibe. Yeah. It's kind of almost like a San Francisco as far as opportunity wise. New York, it's a lot going on there. A lot of companies are based and headquartered there as well. So sure. I like Chicago, but I'm trying to get out and travel a little bit more. Spread my frequent flyer miles and build it up. So what are the coolest cities you've been to?
You mentioned San Diego. Honestly, I think as far as cities I've been to in the United States, I think San Diego is one of my favorite cities. I've only been there a couple times. I think I am perfectly fine just being a beach bum, laying on the beach all day long. And San Diego has tons of beaches. Yeah, just to hang out. And I love baseball, like I mentioned. I was there to watch Cardinals play the Padres out there. So that was a lot of fun. I'm trying to think. I've been to LA and Anaheim area, and I actually did not like LA.
LA will fool you.
I was like, this traffic is no joke. I was like, I've been to Atlanta, I've been to Chicago, I've been to New York. And I was like, I think I hate LA traffic more than all of those. I'm like,
no, man. LA is different, where you think it's going to be one thing, and there's parts and little pockets of Hollywood, but I'll say Hollywood's dusty too.
Yeah. I'm like, this is what They're like, this does not look like the movies at all. Like,
No.
it's like I did not see
No.
one famous person. It's like, where are
No,
they?
for real, man.
They're just
It's
taking their
different,
helicopters around, avoiding the traffic.
for real. 405 is always crazy, and it's just different. Like, cause I think that's life in general sometimes, where the destination is not always what you think it was going to be. You know, the process and the getting there, that's the rewarding part. That's that meat, because we think that once we get to Hollywood, once we get to this place, it's going to feel good. We're going to be happy and fulfilled. And quite often we're not.
No.
It's kind of dusty, and you're like, man, well, that was a letdown. And when you learn to fall in love with the process and the journey, it's not easy, because I like to get places quickly. That's why I don't like road tripping very much. And if I do, I like to, beat the waves time, like whatever my waves map
I
is.
do the same thing. It's like bet.
Try to beat it, right? Like, be like bet. So I like to get there quickly. No bathroom breaks, no snacks. Like, let's just get there.
Let's do it.
Yeah, that's how I be. And I'm not the best traveler sometimes to be with when it comes to road trips, because I'm always on the go. However, I'm learning, especially with a daughter now, to try to enjoy the journey and make those moments, because you don't get some of these things back.
That's
Generally, this is the least busy or least full our lives will ever be as we grow and move and we take on more things. But that destination sometimes is super a letdown. So if we put all of our stock into, well, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when I get the money, when I get the promotion, when I get the job, when I'm an entrepreneur. I can't wait to be an entrepreneur. And if you're an entrepreneur, that it's more work than 9 to 5. So I think that's something that I'm learning, is like, okay, enjoy the process, enjoy the journey now, because there's always another journey ahead of us, and you might as well get used to it, because that's where you develop, that's where you grow, and that's where I think the diamond is in the rough.
No, that's so powerful. I'm glad you said that, just enjoying the journey, because I think John Maxwell talks about is like having destination disease, is like, I want to get there, which I'm right there. I like when I'm traveling, like I'm like newly married, so I'm learning like I need to be more patient, because like I'm used to traveling by myself, and like you said, like no bathroom breaks, we're getting here, we're getting, if we need food, we're getting this, and I know exactly where to go, like do all this. But so it's just enjoying the journey it's a process. It's not something that happens overnight, that's for sure.
No, I mean, you just got married. You've been married a couple months now.
Yeah, a few months. I mean, by the time this comes out, I'd probably be like, I don't know. We'll figure out whenever this comes out, whether it's like almost been a year, or we'll see where it is. But still would be under a year married.
Yeah, it's wild, because a lot of people think, once I get into a relationship, I'll be happy. Once I get married, I'll be happy. And listen, marriage does not produce happiness. I'm just the most spoiler alert. Okay?
Yeah, right.
There's moments, there's honeymoon stages, there's all the things that you feel once you get something new. But it really produces like hard work. Bishop Dale Bronner said this recently. He said, it's very important to do he said, do homework.
Oh yeah.
Work at home.
Yeah.
Do the hard work.
Yeah.
And then do the heart work.
Yes.
And I'm like, yo, so you got homework, hard work, and heart work. And once you get that thing, whether it's acquire the home or the car, now you got to take care of it. Now you got to maintenance it.
Yes.
It's a relationship. Now I got bills to come along with this, and upkeep and headaches sometimes. And I think once we learn to fall in love, I said this recently to somebody, where I'm learning to not dread problems as much. And what I mean by that is that when you're building anything, or when you're leading anything, you can have the greatest intentions, you have the greatest preparation, you do all the things you know to do right, but sometimes things go wrong.
Yeah.
oftentimes things go wrong, and, and a lot of times it happens at the last minute when it's inconvenient. Somebody calls you day of, hey, I can't make it, or you know, this is not working, or the live stream is down, the internet, whatever the case may be, right? And you have an opportunity at that moment to either react or to respond. And one thing I'm learning to do is to respond with, I am a problem solver. This is what I tell myself. I told myself this yesterday when something came up. I'm like, you know what? I'm a problem solver. This is what I do.
Yeah.
Right? It's like this is who I am. I'm a problem solver. So problems, when they happen, when they come my way, you ran into the wrong person because I'm a problem solver.
Yeah.
Right? And once I adopted that mindset, the mentality, then the problem didn't necessarily go away at the moment, but my mentality changed so I can actually fix the problem and ask for wisdom to apply to the problem, as opposed to just talking about the problem and being mad that there is a problem and frustrated. Like, no, I'm pour the energy into actually fixing it. So I am a problem solver. That's one thing that I'm confessing and that has been working out in my life.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah,
I think you kind of hit it on it, but how powerful has your attitude or the way you approach things been to get you through stuff? Because I think like you're saying you're a problem solver. Did you notice a switch, or how did that all happen?
Well, that's a good question. I noticed the problems weren't stopping. So
that's fair.
I was like, I gotta do something here.
Yeah.
Because I like to prepare to prevent. Right? I like to prepare to prevent things from going wrong.
Yeah.
And put in the work, research. I don't stop until it's done. Like, you know, like Kobe Bryant, the Mamba mentality.
Yeah.
The late great GOAT. He says, you know, job's not finished. Job's not finished.
Yeah.
And I tell my daughter that sometimes when, you know, we're working on a dance or working on a project, or cleaning her room, like job's not finished. So I like to make sure that things get done and there's some finality. I don't like lingering too much, but when there's life, when there's entrepreneurship, when there's family, when there's just, you know, things happen, problems happen. And I don't care if you got the job finished, something else may occur, which may require you to start over to maintenance that thing. So, you know, I'm not the Mr. Attitude, like Chris is Mr. Attitude. Chris is like, hey, how you doing? Everything's great. Boom, boom. And Kurt, even when it's not, I've seen him like, you know, work through some tough situations, high pressure situations with a smile on his face, leading his team well with a great attitude.
Wow.
And I learned from that, because sometimes when you get in those modes of things aren't going well and you want to either take the ball, like, you know, give me the ball and get out the way. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you want to do that, but that's not the best thing for the team. And as a leader, you got to think of it not just about yourself and not just getting the job done, but what's best for the team. We're team oriented, right?
True. That's true.
So I've had to switch my mindset into, the job got done, but how healthy is the team now? Or the job got done, but did we even learn anything? Because it's probably going to happen again.
Yes.
And you're going to have to keep putting a Band-Aid on it, as opposed to learning and teaching the team how to think through the process. So I think that's what I've learned. It's like, okay, how can I think long-term, big picture mindset, where it's not just about getting something done, but it's about learning through it so we can create a system or a process so this maybe doesn't happen again.
Yes.
And if it does, we got the solution and we can handle it right away. I think when you start, when you encounter the same problem over and over and over again, it's not because there is an issue with the problem. Maybe there's an issue with your system.
Yeah.
And so I try to go back and to create some systems so we won't have these issues again. Not perfect in it, of course, but learning and progressing through it. But keeping a good attitude is key, especially in leadership, because people are looking at you, your body language, your facial expression. They're looking to see how you're going to respond in the situation. And if you're calm and cool, like, hey, we're going to get through this, then it puts them at ease to be able to function and work in their gift to solve the problem.
Yeah.
But if I'm on their back and like, is it done yet? What's going to happen? Can we move faster? Because I've done this before.
Yeah.
And it creates tension. It creates strife.
Yeah.
And then hindsight, I'm like, oh, okay, I should have handled that differently. So I'm learning, but keeping a good attitude is literally the first step to solving any problem.
Oh, that's so true. I think it
Yeah.
was Henry Ford that said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Like
Woo!
just like whatever you set your mind to, like if you say, oh, I can't do it, you've already lost. But if you say you can do it, just power through and get it done.
Man, you're right. You're right. It's everything starts with attitude. It
Mhm.
really does. When you have a good attitude, you're contagious,
Mm.
and the room feels that, okay, things may not be well. Just like, for instance, if there's a crisis in government or in the world and
Mhm.
everybody's looking to the leader to
Yeah.
say, okay, how are you going to respond in this situation?
Mhm.
Because this sets the tone for how we will move, how the problem, if it gets solved. And it's a constant reminder to me. It's like, okay, Neal, you may not feel good. You may not even know the answer yet, but keep a
Mhm.
good attitude and you'll get
Yes.
through it. I'll give you an example. I live DJ a lot, right? So
Yeah.
I'm in a lot of different spaces. I'm in small groups, and I can be there for 10 people or literally 30,000 people, right?
Yeah.
In an arena. And I've been in situations where equipment does not want to work.
Oh man.
Technology.
Yes.
So you're in a situation, and you can feel the pressure of something like the controllers not connecting to the computer, or you're not getting sound. And what I've learned after doing this so many times when I teach other DJs, I'm like, it's always something small.
Mhm.
It's very rarely something big that's happening.
Okay.
If you just kind of go through your checklist and go, okay, this,
Yeah.
and take your time,
Mhm.
you can narrow down what the issue is. And sometimes it's just a switch, like, oop, oop, and that fixes
No,
it.
that's it.
And that's it, literally. But if you freak out, which I've done before,
Mm.
you can lose it all. Where you have 30,000 people waiting for you to DJ. The time's
Mm.
clicking. You have 5 minutes to figure out this issue,
Mm.
or you're going to be super embarrassed. And thank God, I'm like, at first I asked God, I need your help. He'll
Yes.
guide me through the process, and it'll be one little thing, and then it's solved. But I try to keep a good attitude because I have tech people looking at me. I have
Mm.
audience looking at me. I
Mm.
have my team looking at me. Everybody's kind of waiting
Yeah.
to see what's going to happen. But to keep the good attitude as a professional, like, I got this, and you work your way through it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You know?
That's true.
So yeah, man. Proper preparation prevents poor performance, but sometimes
Wow. It's a
things just don't
bond.
work out.
Yeah. I like that. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Let's say that 6 times fast.
Peter Piper.
No, that's good. Now, I know you've mentioned your family a few times. You do a lot of stuff. So how are you able to balance the stuff that you do and your family time?
You know, balance is not always the goal. It's more so
Mm.
there's this season. I
Oh.
think where having a structure helps, right?
Mm.
And this is real time walking through this. It's not like I got
Mm.
this figured out. Having a
Mm.
structure helps. Okay, I do this in the morning at this
Mm.
particular time. Um, I maybe go into the office if you're going into the office, and then this time is for this moment, this time is for this moment, and then you kind of watch, rinse, and repeat. Every day doesn't look the same though. Chris was
Mm.
saying this recently.
Yeah. That's true.
Sometimes we get locked into the pressure of making every day look the same.
Mm.
And for a lot of our lives, it just doesn't, especially if you're
Yeah.
an entrepreneur
Yes.
and you're in leadership, you get curveballs all the time. If you're a parent, you get curveballs all the time. So
Mhm.
one thing I've learned to do is to be flexible,
Mhm.
but to try to get the most important things done first,
Mm.
right? Because sometimes important things will take the place of, urgent things will take the place of important things,
Mm.
or
Yeah.
emergent things will take the place of urgent things.
Yeah.
And you almost live in this quadrant of urgent and emergent, and you're always running and fixing and putting out fires, as opposed to getting the important things done, or the
Yes.
basic routine things done that help you build actual life. So if you wake up in the morning, okay, me, quiet time, spending time with God, praying,
Mhm.
reading, on a prayer call, listening to a podcast, get
Mhm.
those things out of the way first, typically before my daughter wakes up, if
Mm.
possible. Sometimes she's with me and she knows it's kind of like, my time, but she's hanging out as well. She's kind of
Mhm.
watching, because some things are taught, a lot of things are caught.
Yeah.
And
Powerful.
so I get that time. And if I'm even working out in the basement and we're going, she's with me and she's watching and she's learning, right?
Mhm.
And then spending time with her. And then, my wife does a phenomenal job of getting her ready for school and doing all the things.
Mhm.
And then she takes her with her to her school. But it's not easy, because a lot of times I feel like I don't have enough time
Mhm.
with Gabriella, my daughter, or
Mhm.
with Kim, my wife. And
Mhm.
it's frustrating,
Mhm.
because I'm like, well, I'm spending all this time doing this. I wish I
Mhm.
could spend more time doing this. And
Mhm.
there's seasons of like,
Yeah.
okay, now I have to pour into this so we could have
Yeah.
this, right?
Yes.
We got to
That's
eat.
true. Yes,
To
true.
be honest with you, and you have to make sure that you communicate in advance. It's
Mm.
not easy. I miss it all the time. But if I know I'm going to be traveling for a couple of weeks, like, you travel a lot,
Mm.
I'll say, hey, this is going to be a heavy 2 weeks.
Mm.
And the key is to remind your family,
Yeah.
like, hey, it's going to, because in your mind, you got the schedule, boom, 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 boom. But in
Yes.
their mind, it's not like that. So you have
Yeah.
to remind, hey, it's going to be a heavy 2 weeks. I'm coming home late, or I'm leaving early, or I'm
Mhm.
going to be gone for a couple of days. And communication is really the first step.
Yes.
Asking them, what do you think? Should I take this opportunity?
Mhm.
How does that impact your life? How does it impact your schedule?
Mhm.
And thankfully, I've had a great support system to help me step into some of these opportunities, because
Awesome.
they can hold it down. But I think communication is the number one key. Learning to be flexible,
Mm.
even when things are kind of get murky, and then just basically doing your best to keep your word.
Mm.
When you
Yeah.
do your best to keep your word, my word for the year is consistency.
Mm.
When you're consistent, it builds trust.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's not easy to be consistent, because you want to
No.
go this place and that place.
Yeah.
But it's tough. But the more consistent you are, the more trust you build.
Yep.
And then I think the more rope you have in situations where it's tight.
Oh, that's powerful. I really like what you said about the seasons, because that's so true. Because yeah, I remember what Chris was saying, that we try and make every day look the same, but there's things that happen, things that come up, and that's where we get frustrated. And we feel like, oh, I was gonna work out in the morning, like now I can't do it because I didn't do it in the morning. It's like you can find time in the afternoon or evening, just put it in, fit it in where you can do it and make it happen.
Yeah, I agree. I call them prison workouts. Like, I'd be, push-ups,
Yeah.
pull-ups, your shoulder block, do what you got to
Yeah.
do.
Whatever,
Because,
whatever you can do.
yeah,
But
even through the pandemic, I had to change it up, because I used to go to the gym all the time.
yeah.
And I kind of built like a makeshift home gym. I got some weights, and I got like a
Nice.
Bowflex machine. I got some different things to maintain
Yeah.
if I can't get out,
Yeah.
because, a lot of times in the pandemic, we weren't able to get out. So
That's so
now I
true.
work out a lot at home, and then I supplement at the gym as well. But with your travel, how do you do it with family, travel, work, all the
Oh
things,
man.
working out?
I would say it's madness a lot of the times. Like it's because it's kind of like you mentioned with seasons. So I feel like I was in a season and I was by myself for a long time, living a single life. So I could just fit things wherever I could. And I'll just
Yeah.
do this, do this, do this. But what you mentioned with communication, that's like real time for me, learning to over communicate. Like what you talk about repeating, like, hey, I'm gonna do this, I'm doing this. At the beginning, I'll just feel like this is what I'm gonna do the next 4 weeks, and then like I'm good. I said it. It's I'm like, I cannot do that. I have to repeat it. And sometimes things change. That's for the nature of my work. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to travel here. Well, something happened with the factory. Maybe they're not ready. Like now I'm not traveling here. I'm actually going to be traveling here, or maybe I have to go somewhere next week. So
Yeah.
all of that changes. So like real time, I'm still learning. But as far as like working out and stuff, it's just like I try and do like I've been more intentional the last several months about doing stuff in the mornings, whether it's like push-ups or ab workouts. So I'm like, okay, I can do that in the morning,
Right.
whether or not I can get to a gym, because sometimes I have to be at the factory pretty early, like sometimes like 6:30, 7 in the morning. And I'm like, I not wake up at 4 in the morning to go to the gym. And then depending on how long I'm there, I might be too tired or have like stuff to get caught up when I get back to the hotel. So it's so sometimes I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna try and work like just to maintain like 3 or 4 times this week. This day isn't as busy. I'm gonna get it in this day or get it in this day. Or like on the weekend, I'm like, okay, I have the weekend. I got at least 2 days here. So but that's all changed because like now I recently got a new job. I'm not traveling, so now it's learning to have a new routine about being actually at home, which I'm excited about.
That's good, man. That's good. Now, congratulations on your new job, by the way. That's amazing.
Thanks.
Amazing.
Thank you.
How was that stepping out in faith and, saying I'm going to leave what I known for quite some time now and stepping into something new?
It was terrifying, just to be honest, because I was at Purina for 4 years. Love the company, love what I do, love the job. But what you talk about with seasons, I was like me and my wife, we had been praying, and then even before like she came along to pray with me, I was praying about like, is this what God wants for me? Like, I know this is what I like, but is this what God wants for me? And I just like early on this year, I felt God saying that you're going to get a promotion this year, that you're going to move into somewhere different. And I thought like I think this happens to a lot of us with Christians. When God says something, we expect it one way, it happens a totally different way. So when he was saying that, I was like, okay, I just got promoted last year. It's like they don't really promote people. I mean, I got promoted 2 years in a row, which was not normal. And I was like, there's no way I get promoted this year again. And I was like, maybe God will work it out. Like I'll be able to find something. But then as going through the process, this opportunity came up, which at first I didn't even look at it twice. I was just like, I applied because I was like, it's in St. Louis, it's in my area, but I'm like, I didn't know that much about the company. I was just like, we'll see what happens. And God just worked it out. It went super quick, and they were like really wanting me to come work for them. And I was like, hold up. I was just doing this to like practice, keep my interview skills sharp. But then they're like, between that and the opportunity, there's promotion to go into management, which is something I'm trying to develop my leadership skills, as well as it being a promotion as well. On top of that, a sign-on bonus. I'm like, all of this coming together. I'm like, and I was gonna, even with all of that, I was still tempted to say no, but God was saying that I'm giving you a blessing. Like this is for you. Like, but it's still up to me, is like, if for whatever reason I say no to this, something else could come along. But it's like, this is what I was preparing for you. It's up to you to take it or not. Right. And then and just talking through the process, praying about it, pros cons list. It was a pretty tough decision, but finally I said, like, this is what God has for me. I'm just going to walk in faith and see what happens.
That's incredible, Paul.
Yeah.
That's incredible. No, for real, that's incredible. It really is. I mean, how many times do we pray for something and God opens the door and we don't walk through it because we want it to look like how we want it to look?
Yes.
We're like in the water swimming, like, God, please send help. And then the boat comes along. We're like, no, we want,
yeah,
get on the boat, bro. And I was talking to a guy recently, and very successful entrepreneur, and he was just encouraging me. He's like, bro, you got to say yes. You got to step out. You got to do something. Like, if you don't, like, you have too much talent to waste. And he's like, you have to say yes. He said, so many people, especially that live in the Midwest, don't ever step out and say yes because it's out of their comfort zone.
Yes.
And, you can get very comfortable in the place that you've always been.
Yes.
And not step into something that's a little, troubled waters. But that's where God is. God's in the deep.
Yes.
Sure. He's in the deep where he's calling us out. And he's like, hey, you may not have been here before, clearly. That's why you need me.
Yes.
But if I'm calling you out, keep your eyes on me. Don't look at the wind and the waves. Like, just stay focused, and I'll guide you through. And even if you're thinking, that's the cool part about God. He'll catch you.
Yes, that's so
even
true.
when we mess up and blow it, because we all do, he'll still catch us if we grab a hold to him. And I think that's just awesome, Paul. Congratulations, man.
Thank
Great.
you.
Yeah.
Well, we're about out of time, but I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about that we didn't touch on yet.
Man, I don't know. I just encourage people to add value to people, because people are valuable.
Yes.
You know, that's one thing that we all do. You know, we all can do is to add value to people, because people are valuable. And you take that value, they can multiply that to others, but it's up to us to know that we're people of value.
Yes, that's true.
Sometimes, you know, if we keep looking at everybody else and doing what everybody else is trying to do, and we're looking at social media, which is obviously a big part of a lot of our lives.
Yeah.
And you can get into this comparison game, and, you know, comparison is a killer of contentment.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we compare our real life to their highlight reels.
Mm-hmm.
And we see what they're doing, how they're doing. It's like, man, I can never step out and do what I've been called to do. I can never walk in my path, because you think it's already done, or somebody's doing it bigger or better. They have more resources. But I encourage you to step out and to be you. And I say this to you as I'm saying this to myself. Like, God has so much more for you, and not just for you, but for everybody else that you're going to bless through what He's calling you to do.
Yeah.
It's, you know, like, our gifts are not for us. Our gifts are to help us bless other people. And how many things do we have in our backpack and our briefcase and our purse and our handbag to say, you know what, I got all these things. I better take them and multiply them. I better flip them and do something with it, because I'm responsible with what I've been entrusted with. So I encourage people just to add value to people. Figure out what's your goal. That's why I have a company, one goal. Like, what's your goal? What's your calling? And how can you add value to people through that goal? And just go for it. And I love what you're doing again, Paul, with the podcast, with, you know, your family, how you're building a family, how you're building a life, and building a business as well. And to see you function and walk through leadership, you've been a blessing to me and our church. I think it's just been incredible, and I just really appreciate you allowing me to be on the podcast. This is awesome.
Oh man, no, I'm honored that you're on. You've been a tremendous blessing to me and to so many people as well. So I'm honored to have you on the podcast. So yeah, I definitely want to highlight one goal with the T-shirt you have on, and your hat as well. But I want to make sure people know where to find you as well, whether it's on socials, your website, or like One Goal. Talk about that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, onegoalglobal.com is where you get, you know, merch and stuff like that. But if you follow me at NEALLYTIME, NEALLYTIME. I say it like NEALLYTIME. NEALLYTIME. That's on, you know, Instagram and socials. But my name is Neal Hopson, and you can always follow me there. JoinOneGoal.com is a community that we've started as well, so you can get involved and you can take the next step, and we can add more value to you. My sister Narita, she does the Flourish lifestyle group, where she's an expert in business and dining etiquette and all kinds of things. So basically just how to polish your life, and I'm adding value in different ways. So joinonegoal.com, onegoalglobal.com for merch, and then at NEALLYTIME, just follow me. But thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. And for those of you listening, I hope you learned something from Neal's story, NEALLYTIME story. It's phenomenal just to see how God's been working through your life. Like even what you mentioned, like being faithful in the small things have led to big things. And I'm so excited to see what God's going to do in your future as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So thanks for joining. And to all of those listening, I hope you have an incredible day.
Thank you for listening to the IncrediPaul podcast with Paul Ferranbi. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform. We'll see you here next time. And be incredible.